I am most pleased to welcome to the program my special guest, Leonard Cohen. Leonard, good morning.
Good morning.
And welcome.
Thank you very much.
There were times when I thought this moment would never occur. We had a date potentially scheduled last fall at the time your book came out, which we'll be talking about later, and I heard from your publisher at the final moment that you had disappeared.
I guess I had disappeared that moment.
And rather than being upset, as sometimes happened when a guest segment that you were counting on goes, I thought it was perfectly consistent with your image over the years that you had disappeared.
I've been away so long, disappearing is hardly noticeable.
Well, now that's a matter of opinion, and we'll get to some of those opinions. In fact, like the fact that you call your one of your publishing companies, anyway, Stranger Music, right? This whole persona of the stranger, is that one that fits you like a glove?
It fits me like a glove.
Yeah?
Yes, it does.
Why? Why is that the case?
I've always been on the outside.
More so in regard to your performing career as opposed to your writing career, or both? Do you view them separately?
My mother used to leave me outside in the snow in the winter in Montreal. She used to dress me very warmly and then just leave me outside. I could never get in.
Ever
get in. And those Montreal winters were bitter. I had this Red River coat and a red sash and a toque with a pom-pom. And I was visible in the snow. And she could see me from the kitchen window, but she'd never let me in.
Mm-hmm. Did you read any message into this from Mom?
I don't think she wanted me around.
Has that affected your work at every stage of the creative process?
Yes, it's given me a deep sense of... first of all, I'm cold most of the time.
Still
cold. And it's given me a sense of agony and suffering.
Which has certainly been a major theme in your work. In fact, never having met you before and preparing for this interview today, I kept saying to myself, I'm going to look for clues for this morose, detached man. And I haven't found any yet. Now, there's this contrast here. There's this paradox, if you will.
Well, we live the life of the heart. And the heart is serious, and it is involved with longing and losing. And we have this notion that entertainment must be a distraction or frivolous, but I think that we all have an appetite for seriousness, and it has a kind of voluptuous enjoyment, seriousness, and we have little of it. And I myself enjoy work that affirms that seriousness, that affirms that life of the heart.
Yeah, and I think that opinion is borne out in all media, not to a great extent, but little pockets of it here and there in the various art forms or means of artistic expression that we have available to us. I'm interested in your choices for means of expression. Do you, at this point, consider yourself more a songwriter, performer versus strictly a writer? Is it impossible to separate the various processes?
Well, I never operated from a very deluxe position. I never thought of myself standing in front of a buffet table, choosing between the caviar or the herring. I feel more like a rat in the bottom of a barrel, trying to sink his teeth into something, and whatever yields, that I follow.
At what point did you sink your teeth into music as a means of expression? Was it by accident or design is really the question I'm asking.
I think there is a hand at work in everyone's life. It's difficult to name exactly what that hand is. But when I was standing beside my tall uncles in the synagogue and the cantor would catalog all the various ways that we've sinned and die, that moved me very much. And I started playing guitar in my early teens, and I played in a country band when I was 16 or 17 called the Buckskin Boys in Montreal. We used to do barn dances in church basements and high schools. So I've been playing for a long time. I moved into what they call poetry from folk music. I like the lyrics very much. I used to go down to Harvard and listen to those their record collection for hours and hours every summer.
Now, I'm going to presume something here, and you tell me if I'm right or wrong. I would say that as meaningful as music became to you as a means of expression, you've never seemed comfortable with some of the trappings of, quote, pop stardom and or live stage performances. Is that so?
It depends on the red wine. Sometimes I feel pretty good up there.
How's the red wine flowing in '85?
The red wine, which has been good to us. We've just done 45 concerts in Europe, from Portugal to Poland, and we enjoyed that very much.
Is there a thread of continuity between the way you are received in those countries versus the way you are received here, or are they all individual?
Yes. Oh, there is a substantial difference. For instance, I'm received warmly in Europe, and my audience has evaporated here.
Well, wait a minute now. We're going to put that presumption to the test. A week from today, isn't it?
Yes.
On May 5th, Leonard Cohen at Carnegie Hall. First time in 10 years. Tickets are already on sale, by the way. Contrary to that announcement you heard earlier, tickets are
What was that announcement?
It was an announcement about that very date that we're talking about here.
Thank you very much.
And you'll have the opportunity to see Leonard in concert next Sunday, May 5th, at Carnegie Hall. Tickets on sale now. First time in 10 years.
10 long years.
Why so long, and what's been going on in the interim? I know it's hard to capitalize a decade, but let's give it a try.
Let me see. Usually in the space of every 2 or 3 years, I put out a book and a record. I don't want to be one of those singers who has a quarrel with the commercial recording institutions. But somewhere along the line, I guess, quite justifiably, I was designated a singer who was not in the mainstream. So it was very difficult for me to mount tours in North America without the support of those institutions. Whereas in Europe, the songs seemed to strike home, and that audience could be likened to our country audience. It's a loyal audience. So I've been able to tour frequently in Europe. And also the books are all in translation there, and somehow that audience has remained aware of what I've been doing, whereas here I've usually had to go over the heads of the institutions to the readers or listeners, and that has become more and more difficult as the power of the media has increased.
Yeah, well, we hope that today's visit will put you in direct contact with the people who continue to care deeply about what you do and have done over the years. I'm going to ask you one last quick question before I ask you to perform, which is this. I'm still trying to get a bead on how you perceive yourself and your work. You know, if you're filling out an application, some imaginary application for something or other, for the Columbia Record of the Month Club, whatever, and it gets to the line where it says occupation, and then there's a blank there. What does Leonard Cohen write in on the line where it says occupation?
Sinner.
You have your musicians with you. You have your guitar. Would you do a number live for us?
I'm in the studio with 3/5 of my band, and we usually plug into amplifiers. There's John Crowder here who plays bass, Mitch Watkins who plays guitar, and Ron Getman who plays pedal steel, but we just got a couple of acoustic guitars here, and we'll try to get through this song. It's called Night Comes On.
Well, based upon what I was hearing in the hallways, it's going to be just fine. Leonard Cohen on Mixed Bag at WNEW-FM.